This is CVM Television, Jamaica's news authority. Welcome to another in our one-on-one series, where we feature individuals who have served in the public sphere and have made an impact nationally. I'm Joel Crosskill. My guest today is Paul Chen-Young, former chairman of the Eagle Group of Companies. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
All right, could you tell us where you were born, what high school you attended?
I was born in Kingston, Jamaica. I attended Clarendon College.
And your experiences at Clarendon College, how did they form?
Oh, it was in the early years. And we had a great experience by pioneering students who bonded together. And we knew we were building an institution. And today, some of my best friends are from Clarendon College days.
Mm. Could you tell us, how did you form the Eagle Group?
It's a combination of many things. It wasn't just forming a company or a bank as such. It arose from my experience at working for different institutions and companies. And the last one, after the last experience, I said I wanted to be on my own. And in 1972, I decided to start the first economic and financial consulting firm in the Caribbean. And I published a magazine on a monthly basis. And from there, I started a stockbroking company. It was Paul Chen-Young and Company, probably the second largest after Barita. Sometimes we claim who was the first or who was the second. And after that, I saw the possibilities under Prime Minister Siaga with the opening of the economy, that it made sense to look in expanding into the financial sector. And in those days, the requirements for obtaining a merchant bank license were quite simple, but it allowed you to move into the banking sector. And so I started with minimal capital, and from the merchant bank, we then saw where there was synergy in creating related financial entities, such as the Eagle Commercial Bank, Eagle General Insurance Company, Eagle Unit Trust Limited, Eagle Building Society, Crown Eagle Life Insurance Company. That was bought from an old Canadian company, but it was almost defunct. And so we created what was then the most comprehensive group of financial entities in Jamaica, all of which were built by Jamaicans. And I take great pride that I was able to harness the talent and the experience of Jamaican professionals to create a successful group of companies, hence the Eagle Financial Network. If I am not mistaken, I think that there'll be no other group in Jamaica or in the Caribbean that has created such a comprehensive group of financial entities.
How did you settle on the name Eagle?
It's funny. I was fortunate to be appointed to the Prime Minister's Committee on Investment and Employment, chaired by Carlton Alexander, as a counterpart to a similar committee chaired by David Rockefeller in the States. And in one of the meetings, I was inspired and said, the eagle soars. And it stayed in my mind and said, why don't I select a name, a brand, which would inspire? And I've always been inspired by Eagle. And basically, that's how it came about.
What were some of the successes of the Eagle Group?
All successes. You may smile because the Eagle Group collapsed under the FinSAC, whatever you might want to call it. I will not make any comment. We're waiting for the FinSAC Commission to hear what they have to say. But I have written extensively in my first book, The Entrepreneurial Journey in Jamaica, When Policies Derail, which essentially says entrepreneurship is destroyed or put off course or derailed when the policies are wrong. And the core of my analysis is that we had extraordinarily high interest rates. At one time, interest rates were averaging 50-odd%. And along with policies which did not encourage production, but have heavy investment in financial assets, speculating and taking advantage of the high interest rates. Now, as financial entities, we were obliged to, not just Eagle, and I say so very without any reservation, but almost every single major Jamaican-owned financial institution, whether it's Mutual Life, Life of Jamaica, Island Life, National Commercial Bank, you name any. They all had to resort to borrowing money at these excessive high interest rates. And then the monies have to be invested. And it's very difficult to obtain returns with such high interest rates. Now, that is the strategic error which many of us, when I say us Jamaican financial institutions, made by being almost forced to respond to market conditions and borrowing these at excessive interest rates and then having to invest. And so we had a mismatch of maturities where we borrowed short and we lent long. As a matter of fact, the revival of the hotel sector was done primarily by Jamaican financial institutions. And Eagle was one of the first to lead the structure of a loan package.
Welcome back to One-on-One with Dr. Paul Chen-Young. Can you tell us what you're doing now? More with Dr. Paul Chen-Young when we return.
I'm trying to stay alive. Unexpected legal charges were brought against me in 1998. First of all, when the problem occurred with Eagle, and we, along with the other institutions, were negotiating with FinSAC. I say negotiating because we were well advanced for FinSAC to take over Eagle, and on a majority basis. And I was quite prepared to give up control and even to step down. Then suddenly I was in Washington, D.C. at Thanksgiving with my family, and I heard, so I transferred all of the shares in the Eagle Group for $1 on the basis of my understanding, which proved to be mistaken, that Eagle was over. I did my part, I tried my best, circumstances overtook, and that's the price you pay. That's business. Then I had this lawsuit, which was shocking. And my family said, do not go back to Jamaica. You're not safe.
Yeah.
And so, you ask what I've been doing? I've been fighting to survive from 1998. My raven injunctions were taken out against me. I was at the prime of my life at 60. These raven injunctions froze my assets and prevented me from doing business anywhere in the world. I was left almost penniless, quite frankly. And I stayed in America, and I was employed in a family company, a private family investment company called Florida Phoenix. And I started doing well. It was a company which would borrow money and invest in houses and resell them. And so I was getting back on, on a sound, strong financial basis. Then all of a sudden, out of the clear blue sky, when my wife had cancer in 2007, lying in the living room, not able to go upstairs because she was flown in an ambulance. Mm. We had knocks on our doors by the police in the night around 9 o'clock with a summons to say that there's a Moravian injunction against you. And so that destroyed the business with which I was involved and further prevented me from continuing to make a living.
What is your greatest takeaway from the financial meltdown?
Takeaway, I think that politics can be very destructive because let's go back to the tourism sector. The hotels were need total rehabilitation. No money was coming from overseas, nowhere. It's the domestic financial sector, led by Eagle, I can say that, because we put together the first consortium, which started the movement that the tourism sector should be funded through the banking system. Now, that brought its problem because, as I said, with high cost of funds and short-term maturities, you end up with long-term liabilities. Now, while that is laudable, you ask what message? I'm saying just stick to basics and don't try and respond to big policy initiatives. Manage your balance sheet. And I would even say, I was going to use a phrase, but I won't. Just stick to the basics. Make sure your bottom line is strong. And don't try and be too proactive in an international call that you must do more and more, and you can do more, and so on. Because that's one of the reasons why the domestic financial sector collapsed.
All right, in hindsight, building Crown Plaza, was it a mistake?
I think, yes, I think so. I think so because at that time, we were involved in Siboney, which was long-term. And that project started out as a development for high value houses, upscale. Mm-hmm. But we had a relationship with the Radisson Group in Siboney, and that relationship I was impressed with how they operated. And I looked at Kingston and I said, with the congestion, the traffic congestion, and with the executives living in the Manor Park area or above, it would be logical to have a facility which would be a business-oriented hotel, mm-hmm. so that executives in the area would find it convenient to use. And so, but it's a mistake, and I'll admit that, yeah.
How did it affect you financially?
I think it helped bring down Eagle.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, you've been in financial exile for 19 years. Can you expand on that?
Not financial exile. As I told you, I worked in a family-owned company in Miami. And we were very successful until it was wrecked by FinSAC bringing a Moravian injunction in that company. So let's just get that corrected.
All right.
So can you rephrase your question?
All right, you've been in exile for 19 years.
Exile from Jamaica, voluntary exile, because I feared of my safety. With what happened with the lawsuits against me, with the Moravian injunction, taking the Moravian injunction from Jamaica to America to destroy me. I said, you know, I better be careful of the people in power. Next thing I come to Jamaica, they'll lock me up.
Yeah.
And I don't know for what reason. And so, to that extent, it was voluntary exile. But what's clear to me, and which I will never forget, is the deliberate actions that would destroy me professionally, financially, and as a person. But thank God, I'm a strong person. Thank God.
We're upon a break here on
Welcome back to
One on One.
One.
We're talking with
Young
Dr.
when we
Paul
return.
Chen-Young. What have you missed about Jamaica?
At first, I miss more than anything else. And it's so wonderful. Wherever I am, I hear Jamaican. And I say, boy, that's my Jamaica. I don't have to hear a Jamaican speak. I can see a Jamaican walk. Just his mannerism. And when I read about the success of Jamaicans in every sphere, not just sports, not just in acting, in academia, professionalism, I say, what a great little country we have. Extraordinary country. And so, in that sense, I miss Jamaica for its personality and its successes. But I cannot think positively about what has happened. I'm a human being, and it was a sense of great sadness, the way I was treated. Great sadness, which I really think no one, especially one who has contributed so much to this country, should have been treated so viciously.
You weren't even able to return for your father's funeral. How did that
that's
affect
right.
you?
Well, my father died. He was ill. Well, no, he wasn't really ill, but he was being taken care of. And when my family said, don't go to Jamaica, and I said, that's right, he would come to Miami, and we would get together. And the last time he was leaving, I took him to the airport. And I couldn't say to him, I will not see you again. But I realized that I would not see him again. And when he died, it was one of the saddest moments in my life that I could not come to his funeral because of fear. And that should not happen to anyone, especially when you have done no wrong and you have accomplished so much professionally. And I am very proud of my professional and personal accomplishment.
Decades Awaiting Justice in Jamaica, the book you authored. Why did you feel the need to write it? And you have it here with you.
Yes, here it is. Well, you know, one of the deficiencies of many countries and peoples is that they don't write for posterity. They talk and talk. And one of the great attributes of the Jewish people is that they believe in writing. And I said to myself, here I am in Miami, playing my little golf, not very good, but I have time. Why not put together for posterity my experience and to share with the legal, especially the legal profession and the younger lawyers, what I consider extraordinary submissions, setting out principles of law, and also to show that in the administration of justice, it's now 20 years since I've been, I wouldn't say fighting, since I've been in the courts, let's put it that way. And it has taken 11 years for the courts, having heard submissions, to pass judgments. I said, that's not right. Something is wrong, because if a citizen has to face the tribulation of the power of the state, and having exhausted all of his resources, plus whatever he can beg or borrow, to stand up for his rights instead of running away and folding, the courts cannot give a decision, then it should be written about and it should be documented without me commenting on the merits of it. Let the facts speak for themselves. So I thought that I would trace the legal story, from day one in 1998 until 2013, when the appeal was heard, and I'm still awaiting for judgment, but it's for the courts to deal with these matters, and I wish not to comment on that. And then I also felt that this book should document the aggressiveness in terms of the legal pursuit against me. A humble citizen who tried to do his job. And this aggressiveness, some may say that it is persecution. I'm not saying, but it has been aggressive, where you move from Jamaica. I leave Jamaica. I say, okay, Eagle is finished. That's it, that's business. You move on. I go to America to start a new life, to work in a family company. And the people in Jamaica at FinSac, and the people above FinSac, I won't call any names, they say, no, we can't allow Paul Chen-Young to start a new life in the States. We have to go there and have the Moravian injunction. As it turned out, they went to Miami and they got the Moravian injunction secretly, without my attorneys being advised or me being advised. Well, as it turned out, we appealed, and the judge who granted the Moravian injunction said, no, that's not right, and he lifted the injunction. Okay. But the damage was done. And so one of the things which I try to present in the book is how human nature, or those responsible, can exercise power. It's really exercise of power that can destroy lives. And society should be on guard. And I feel that this book for posterity will be a part of Jamaica's history. And I'm proud that I did it. And that's it.
Where do you find joy in your life now?
Well, my wife died in June from cancer after 10 years of marriage. And I was in a desolate state. But I said to myself, I have lived all these years. I cannot be broken. And I started walking and trying to find myself. And out of that, I was inspired by a phrase: strength from solitude, not loneliness, solitude, memories, and introspection. And so I'm at peace with myself.
Are there any plans for you to return to Jamaica permanently for residence?
I don't know what I would do here. I have nothing in Jamaica. No assets, nothing.
A sober way to end our interview. Thank you very much for joining us. All right. We've been one-on-one with Dr. Paul Chen-Young. I hope you enjoyed it.